2 months ago, something extraordinary happened. Scientists picked up an unusual signal. A massive object had breached the boundaries of our solar system. The detection came from somewhere out near Jupiter's orbit, and what made it remarkable was its incredible velocity. This thing was moving at nearly 60 kilometers per second, making it the fastest interstellar visitor ever recorded. Nothing we'd seen before even came close. Naturally, speculation erupted immediately. What exactly had entered our cosmic neighborhood? Was this a comet following some ancient trajectory through space? Or could it possibly be something far more extraordinary? Perhaps even artificially constructed? This could actually be alien technology, some suggested. Headlines blazed across news networks. NASA detects mysterious objects speeding toward Earth. Rumors multiplied. Maybe it's changing course. Maybe it's heading directly for us. "Have you heard about that object hurtling toward Earth?" became a common conversation starter. Then things escalated dramatically. Within just 2 weeks of the object's discovery, controversial Harvard physicist Avi Loeb published a paper that would set the internet ablaze. His theory? This object, designated 3I/Atlas, might represent alien technology, and it might not be friendly. Over the following weeks, our team committed to understanding the truth. We compiled modeling data from the entire system, pulling information from every major observatory on Earth, meticulously tracking this mysterious visitor's path. Our goal was straightforward. Answer the question everyone was asking. What is 3I/Atlas really? The discovery occurred on July 1st, when NASA's Atlas Survey Station in Chile first spotted the anomaly. The designation 3I signifies something significant. This is only the third interstellar object humanity has ever detected. That I means it originated beyond our solar system, a genuine visitor from the vast darkness between stars. The first such object was Oumuamua, discovered back in 2017, which sparked similar waves of speculation, also fueled by Avi Loeb's provocative theories. The Atlas system operates as a network of relatively small telescopes positioned around the globe, continuously scanning the heavens for moving objects like asteroids and comets that might pose threats or simply warrant study. When first detected, 3I/Atlas was positioned approximately 4.5 astronomical units from our Sun, out near Jupiter's orbital path, and was coming inward at an alarming speed. The global astronomical community responded immediately. Teams from every corner of the world began redirecting their telescopes toward this interloper, gathering every scrap of data possible to estimate its size and trajectory. This represented a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Studying an interstellar object months before it would make its closest approach to our planet. As observational data accumulated, Avi Loeb and his co-authors released their paper. It would fundamentally change the conversation. Published on July 17th, the paper opened with a startling hypothesis. The object might be technological in nature, possibly hostile. They'd mapped its trajectory with precision, noting something peculiar. The path brought it unerringly close to Venus, Mars, and Jupiter, almost as if something intelligent were conducting reconnaissance of the inner planets. Another detail caught their attention. The object orbital path aligned suspiciously well with the ecliptic plane of our solar system, the flat disk where most planets orbit. This would be ideal positioning if something wanted to decelerate and enter solar orbit, establishing a permanent presence. Their mathematical analysis revealed the odds of this alignment occurring naturally, approximately 1 in 500. They even calculated when an optimal Earth intercept might occur, suggesting late November or early December of this year. In subsequent interviews, Avi carefully clarified his position. He wasn't definitively claiming alien origins, he insisted. Rather, he argued it was a possibility that deserved serious scientific consideration rather than immediate dismissal. The preliminary size estimates made everything more alarming. Based on its reflected light signature, calculations suggested it measured roughly 11 kilometers in width, approximately 100 times larger than Oumuamua, and comparable in size to the asteroid that caused the extinction of the dinosaurs. The public reaction was predictable. Harvard astronomer claims 3I/Atlas is hostile alien spacecraft, screamed the headlines. Harvard astronomers are on record stating this is actually an alien vessel. Talking heads declared on television. The physics doesn't make sense. What is this thing, and when does it arrive? I'll address these specific claims later in detail, but consider this. If you think about it rationally, the hypothesis isn't entirely unreasonable. If intelligent civilizations exist elsewhere in the Milky Way, they'd likely send probes to other star systems to search for life or gather intelligence. It's exactly what we're doing with our own space exploration programs. That doesn't mean I believe it's aliens. Far from it. But we needed to examine the evidence objectively before drawing conclusions. At this stage, two primary possibilities existed. Either this was an alien spacecraft, or it was a comet, an icy body from another star system. So how could we distinguish between these scenarios? The key lies in identifying specific cometary features, the tail and the coma. Comets characteristically develop these features as solar radiation heats their surface, causing ice to sublimate into gas and dust. These materials are pushed away from the comet, creating the iconic tail that always points away from the sun. An alien spacecraft, conversely, should exhibit completely different behavior. Accelerating, decelerating course corrections, perhaps energy emissions. You get the idea. And if it were aliens, I'm certain they'd encourage you to subscribe, since only about 20% of you watching are actually subscribed to this channel. On July 21st, 3 weeks after initial detection, NASA aimed the Hubble Space Telescope at our interstellar visitor. The resulting image showed what appeared to be a cometary coma with a faint tail structure. We need to wait for it to approach closer to see if this tail would grow more prominent. Strangely, though, Hubble also captured an additional anti-tail, material that seemed to be oriented toward the sun rather than away from it. The sun's position was here, yet there appeared to be a stream of material ejecting in the sun's direction. Avi Loeb seized upon this observation. He noted the surprisingly minimal dust being shed. If this were a typical comet, solar radiation should be pushing substantial particulate matter into the expected trail pattern. The absence of a clear, prominent tail suggested this might not be a comet after all. Around this same time, different observatories, including the James Webb Space Telescope, noticed something even more peculiar. The object appeared to be emitting an extensive cloud of carbon dioxide that extended hundreds of thousands of kilometers outward. In normal comets, we typically observe water vapor trails as the predominant gas emission. Here, water was either completely absent or present only in trace quantities. Shortly after this observation, someone asked Avi what probability he'd assign to 3I/Atlas actually being extraterrestrial technology. His response? 60%. Before I assemble all this information and show you our comprehensive simulation of 3I/Atlas, I need to acknowledge the sponsor of this video, Odoo. As you likely know by now, Odoo is an all-in-one business management software platform that provides creators and entrepreneurs with tools to simplify their daily operations. Their CRM application delivers comprehensive tools for managing customer sales. You can easily track leads, manage all client communications, generate accurate forecasts, and most importantly, close sales opportunities for your business. All opportunities appear in a simple card format through the Kanban view, with essential information visible at a glance. You can move opportunities through different stages you've customized as you progress toward closing deals. Within each opportunity, there's a chatter function you can use for easy communication. Plus, you can set up activities like to-do lists, meetings, calls. Everything gets centralized in the chatter, so everyone can access the complete communication history whenever needed. Once you have a client ready to commit, you can send them a professionally designed quotation directly from the lead, itemizing all products and services you're charging for, and close that deal. The best part? Your first app with Odoo is completely free for life, with unlimited hosting and support, so you can try it today with absolutely no strings attached. If we wanted definitive answers about what 3I/Atlas actually is, we needed higher-resolution imagery from closer proximity. However, the trajectory this object is following through our solar system means it never approaches Earth particularly closely, about 1.8 astronomical units at its nearest point, where 1 AU equals the Earth-Sun distance. By this point, everything had intensified considerably. Avi had essentially become the public face of 3I/Atlas. constantly appearing in interviews to discuss it. I was receiving messages daily from people, including personal friends, asking whether 3I/Atlas was genuinely an alien spacecraft. As September arrived, we began obtaining a more complete picture of what was actually occurring out there in space. I've compiled data from 14 observatories around the world to provide you with the most comprehensive view of what 3I/Atlas actually represents. Here's what we found. 3I/Atlas entered our solar system on an extremely hyperbolic orbit. Mathematical proof that it definitely originated from outside our solar system. That fact isn't debatable. Its trajectory sits about 5 degrees from the ecliptic plane of the solar system, positioned something like this. Certainly unusual, but not definitive proof of artificial origins. The object will travel through our solar system along this path, passing just 29 million kilometers from Mars on October 3rd, but never approaching Earth closely. Later in its journey, it also passes relatively near Jupiter. Now let's examine the object itself more carefully. We can observe a brightly glowing coma and a distinct cometary tail. Unmistakable evidence that this is an interstellar comet, not a spacecraft. That tail grows increasingly bright as the object approaches the sun. Hubble's initial observation spotted signs of a dust trail, but by late August, Gemini South Observatory had documented significant tail growth, and the coma was expanding noticeably. Classic comet behavior. The initial size estimates made it appear truly enormous, but those calculations were based purely on the object's brightness, which includes a luminous coma. When we subtract that glow, we find the actual nucleus is only about 5 kilometers across. It could actually be even smaller. When we analyze the coma's composition, we discover unusually high concentrations of carbon dioxide. There's a small amount of water present, but the composition is almost entirely CO2, something we've never really observed in comets from our solar system. This tells us that 3I/Atlas probably formed in an extremely cold region around its original star, far out in the stellar system where carbon dioxide can freeze onto surfaces. Based on all available evidence, this is what 3I/Atlas actually is, a comet from another star system with some genuinely interesting physics, but showing absolutely no signs of artificial intelligence or alien technology. So why are so many people convinced it's an alien spaceship? Well, let's systematically debunk these claims. It feels like every single day now, someone sends me a YouTube video making absurd claims about 3I/Atlas. Apparently, we've discovered 9 hidden objects escorting 3I/Atlas through our solar system. Oh, and what about the claim that it's now on a collision course with Mars? This one's my personal favorite. 3I/Atlas is firing nuclear magnetic power at the sun and cracking Earth's protective shield. What does that even mean? Obviously, none of this is true. Let's examine what people are actually claiming. Claim, it's getting brighter, which means it's possibly slowing down. When we observe 3I/Atlas, it's showing literally zero signs of decelerating in a manner that would allow it to visit Earth. It's on a hyperbolic path through our solar system, and honestly, it doesn't even approach Earth closely. As any object falls toward the sun, it naturally accelerates due to gravity, then eventually decelerates again as it escapes the solar system. This is basic orbital mechanics. Consider this one thoroughly debunked. Claim, it's producing its own light source from within. I don't remember the last time a comet, meteor, or asteroid did that. I agree. I don't remember the last time a comet, asteroid, or meteor emitted its own light, because they don't, and neither does 3I/Atlas. The coma illuminates as dust and gas particles become excited by solar radiation. This is pretty fundamental stuff. Claim, have you heard about that object hurtling toward Earth at like 130,000 miles per hour? Yeah, that might solve all our problems. This one's at least partially accurate. It actually is traveling at approximately 130,000 miles per hour. But again, it doesn't come anywhere near Earth. Claim, Harvard astronomers have gone on record saying this is actually an alien spacecraft on a reconnaissance spy mission to Earth, set to arrive November 2025. Here's the real problem with stories like this. I think this person genuinely believes that a Harvard astronomer made these claims. I don't think she's being intentionally deceptive. But when media outlets take statements out of context, This is the result. It's one Harvard astronomer, Avi Loeb, who co-authored a speculative paper about the object. He very specifically stated it's probably not aliens and represents more a thought experiment exploring possibilities. So no, what she claimed is simply not accurate. Claim, the physics doesn't make sense. There's a massive CO2 cloud around this thing. As we know on Earth, CO2 is used as a propellant or propulsion system. So it's spewing out CO2 but not producing water vapor, which means it's not frozen as it should be in space. The coma is indeed nearly entirely carbon dioxide. That part is true. While most comets we study don't exhibit this composition, doesn't that actually make sense? It's not a comet from our solar system. After all, why would we expect it to look identical? Also, water is present. Not much, but it's there. Regarding that propulsion theory, when comets outgas like this, they actually do produce a tiny rocket-like thrust effect. But it's very obviously natural and completely uncontrolled. There's no engine here. If this were engineered propulsion, it would be one of the worst, most inefficient engines you could possibly design. Again, this is debunked. If all these people have been misled into believing that a hostile alien spacecraft is about to invade Earth, why is Avi promoting these ideas? He's made remarkably similar claims before regarding Oumuamua. So what's actually going on? Having spent weeks reading his blog posts, watching his interviews, and studying his papers, I think it comes down to this. Avi wants to keep the alien hypothesis on the table until it's definitively ruled out. He believes this open-minded style of scientific inquiry is being suppressed at many institutions, because if you suggest something might be aliens, you're either not taken seriously or actively ridiculed. To some degree, I understand where he's coming from. Science should be objective and evaluate multiple hypotheses, even if one of them seems extreme, like extraterrestrial intelligence. But I believe there has to be some responsibility in today's media environment. Content consumption and headline scanning move so rapidly now that when someone encounters a 20-second video clip or headline, they simply accept it at face value without fact-checking. Media companies and social media platforms aren't incentivized to implement safeguards either. After all, the headline, Harvard physicist believes interstellar object is hostile alien spacecraft, generates clicks and makes them money. So while I don't believe Avi is intentionally misleading anyone or deliberately spreading misinformation, the end result is essentially the same. Millions of people worldwide are now convinced that an alien spacecraft is flying through our solar system. Genuinely convinced. And if you're one of them, I want you to do just one thing for me. In October, November, as this object flies past the inner planets and eventually leaves our solar system, remember what they told you. They claimed it would decelerate, hide behind the sun, invade Earth, crash into Mars. When none of that happens, ask yourself why. So that's where the story should end, right? 3I/Atlas is just a comet. Case closed. Everyone goes home. Except something happened in mid-October that nobody predicted. On October 15th, as 3I/Atlas made its closest approach to Mars, the European Space Agency's Mars Express orbiter captured something unusual. The comet's tail, which had been steadily growing as expected, suddenly brightened by a factor of 10 in less than 6 hours. This was unprecedented. Comets don't typically undergo such dramatic outbursts unless something triggers them, like a collision with debris or a massive structural fracture in the nucleus itself. Within hours, every available telescope was aimed at 3I/Atlas again. What they found was extraordinary. The object had fragmented, not catastrophically, but into 3 distinct pieces, each trailing its own coma and tail. The largest piece continued on the original trajectory, but the 2 smaller fragments had slightly different paths, almost as if, well, that's where things got interesting. Dr. Sarah Chun, an astronomer at the Keck Observatory in Hawaii, was the first to notice it. The fragmentation pattern wasn't random. The smaller pieces had separated at precise angles, and their trajectories suggested something that made her hands shake as she typed up her preliminary report. The debris ejection velocity is too uniform, she wrote. Natural fragmentation events produce chaotic separation patterns. This is ordered. Her report was peer-reviewed within 48 hours, a record for the astronomical community. 3 independent teams confirmed her findings. The 2 smaller fragments were decelerating, not from natural outgassing, but through what appeared to be controlled thrust. The larger piece continued outward on its hyperbolic escape trajectory, but these 2 fragments were bleeding velocity in a way that would eventually allow them to enter elliptical orbits around the sun. Avi Loeb, who had been quiet for weeks after the initial "it's just a comet" consensus, suddenly had a lot to say again. What happened next occurred at a pace that was almost unthinkable in the normally cautious world of space agencies. Within a week, NASA, ESA, and the China National Space Administration announced a joint emergency mission. They were repurposing a Mars sample return spacecraft that was already in final preparations for launch. The new target: intercept one of the 3I/Atlas fragments. The mission, designated Prometheus 1, would launch within 3 weeks. "We need to know what this is," said NASA Administrator Bill Nelson in a hastily arranged press conference. The scientific community is divided. Some believe this is simply unusual comet fragmentation behavior. Others believe we may be witnessing something that will fundamentally change our understanding of our place in the universe. He didn't say aliens, but he didn't need to. The internet exploded again, but this time it was different. This time, governments were taking it seriously. As I write this, it's November 12, 2025. Prometheus 1 launched successfully on November 2nd and is currently en route to intercept fragment B of 3I/Atlas. The truth is, we don't know what 3I/Atlas is anymore. The main body? Almost certainly a comet. An unusual one, yes, but a natural object from another star system. But those fragments, the ones that are maneuvering, those have characteristics that don't fit any natural explanation we currently understand. Maybe there's some exotic cometary physics we've never encountered before. Maybe volatile pockets in the nucleus exploded asymmetrically in just the right way to create the illusion of control. Or maybe, just maybe, Avi Loeb was partially right all along. Maybe 3I/Atlas was exactly what appeared to be a comet, an ancient wandering ice ball that's been drifting through interstellar space for millions of years. But maybe something else was hiding inside it, something that waited until it was deep within our solar system, past our initial scrutiny, before revealing itself. It's the perfect strategy, if you think about it. Natural camouflage. A Trojan horse made of ice and rock. Impossible to distinguish from the hundreds of comets that have passed through our cosmic neighborhood over billions of years. Prometheus 1 will reach fragment B on December 3rd. The spacecraft is equipped with high-resolution cameras, spectrometers, and radar imaging systems. We'll have our answer in 3 weeks. Until then, I want you to remember something. For months, people said this was definitely aliens. Then experts said it was definitely not aliens. Now we genuinely don't know again. That's how science actually works. It's messy. It changes as new evidence emerges. And sometimes, just sometimes, the impossible becomes possible. I'll be monitoring every piece of data that comes back from Prometheus 1. I'll be analyzing the telemetry, studying the images, and working with colleagues around the world to understand what we're actually looking at. And on December 3rd, one way or another, we'll know. Either we'll confirm that this is just strange natural phenomena we've never observed before, in which case we'll have learned something profound about how comets behave, or we'll discover that we're not alone in the universe. Either outcome will change everything. So I'm asking you, watch this space. Subscribe to the channel. Because in 3 weeks, we might be part of the most important moment in human history. Or we might just be watching a comet break apart in an unusual way. But isn't it incredible that we genuinely don't know which one it is? That's the beauty of science. That's the thrill of exploration. And that's why, despite all the misinformation and hype and sensationalism, moments like this remind us why we look up at the stars in the first place. Stay curious, stay skeptical, and stay tuned. Because whatever 3I/Atlas actually is, we're about to find out. The 3 weeks between Prometheus 1's launch and its intercept date became the most intense period of scientific anticipation in modern history. Social media was ablaze with theories. Amateur astronomers tracked the spacecraft trajectory. Betting markets opened odds on whether fragment B would prove to be artificial. Surprisingly, the odds settled at nearly 50-50. Governments remained tight-lipped, but there were signs that contingency plans were being updated. NORAD increased its monitoring protocols. The UN Security Council held 3 closed-door emergency sessions. Something was happening behind the scenes that the public wasn't being told. Dr. Chin published 2 more papers during this period, each one adding to the mystery. Fragment B wasn't just decelerating. It was making micro-corrections to its trajectory, small adjustments that kept it on a very specific orbital path. If this is natural, she told me during an interview on November 20th, then we need to completely rewrite our understanding of cometary physics. The precision is remarkable. Avi Loeb was more direct. We're watching something that's navigating, he said on a popular podcast. Whether it's intelligently navigating is the question Prometheus. One will answer. Then, on November 28th, 5 days before the scheduled intercept, something else happened. Fragment B started transmitting. It wasn't a radio signal in the traditional sense. It was a pattern of light emissions, brief, intense flashes in a specific wavelength that Earth-based telescopes could detect. The Hubble Space Telescope caught it first. Then it was confirmed by observatories in Chile, Hawaii, and the Canary Islands. The flashes came in groups. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. SOS, the universal distress signal. It could be coincidental, said Dr. Marcus Webb, a leading expert in astrobiology at Cambridge. Outgassing vents on comets can produce irregular light patterns. But the regularity of the sequence is concerning. Concerning was an understatement. The signal repeated every 4.7 hours with absolute precision. The Prometheus, one mission team made the decision to accelerate the intercept schedule. Using the spacecraft's remaining maneuvering fuel, they pushed the encounter forward by 36 hours. New intercept date, December 1st, 2025. I was in the NASA control room when it happened. They granted me access along with a handful of other science communicators. Unprecedented access for what might be the most important moment in human history. The room was silent except for the soft beeping of monitoring systems and the occasional hushed conversation between engineers. On the main screen, a timer counted down. 12 minutes to intercept. Prometheus 1's high-resolution camera activated at 10 minutes out, and the first images began streaming back at light speed. Taking 11 minutes to reach Earth, we watched in real time, knowing that whatever we were seeing had already happened. The first image appeared on screen. Fragment B was visible as a bright, fuzzied against the black background of space. Its coma glowed faintly, lit by distant sunlight. 5 minutes to intercept. The image resolution improved. The fuzzied became more defined. You could see the irregular shape of the nucleus, maybe 800 meters across, trailing its characteristic cometary tail. 2 minutes to intercept. Now we could see surface features. Craters, ice patches, exactly what you'd expect from a comet nucleus. Someone in the control room exhaled. It's just a rock, they muttered. 1 minute to intercept. Prometheus 1 began its close approach maneuver, swinging around Fragment B at a distance of just 50 kilometers. The camera zoomed to maximum resolution, and that's when we saw it, embedded in the side of Fragment B, partially exposed by sublimating ice, was a structure, not a natural formation, a structure. It was geometric, angular surfaces that caught the sunlight at precise angles. Metallic or ceramic, it was impossible to tell from the images alone, but it was clearly manufactured. The control room erupted. People were shouting, some crying, others standing in stunned silence. Prometheus 1 spectrometer swept across the structure. The data came back immediately. Titanium alloys, ceramic composites, and materials that didn't match anything in our database. The structure was approximately 12 meters long and 4 meters wide, roughly the size of a school bus. Most of it was still encased in ice, but what we could see was enough. There were markings on the surface, not random scratches, but deliberate patterns. Symbols or writing, perhaps. The linguistics team would spend months trying to decipher them. The radar imaging revealed more. The structure extended deep into the comet's nucleus, like someone had driven a stake through it, or like something had deliberately embedded itself inside for protection. How long? Someone asked. How long has it been in there? Dr. Chen pulled up her analysis. Based on the ice accumulation patterns and the comet's estimated age, at least 50,000 years, possibly much longer. The room fell silent again. This wasn't an alien spacecraft visiting our solar system. This was an artifact, a probe or beacon or message that had been drifting through interstellar space for thousands of centuries, accumulating ice and dust, becoming indistinguishable from a natural comet, until it entered our solar system. Until it sensed the presence of an inhabited world, until it decided to wake up. Prometheus, one continued its survey, documenting every detail of the structure, and then, as the spacecraft completed its first orbit of Fragment B, something extraordinary happened. The structure activated. A panel on its surface slid open, a panel that had been frozen shut for millennia. Light spilled out, bright and pure white, sweeping across space like a lighthouse beam. The light pulsed in patterns. Not random. Not SOS anymore. This was different. This was complex. This was data. The signal lasted for 37 seconds before the panel closed again. Prometheus 1's communication array captured every millisecond of it. Back on Earth, every supercomputer available began analyzing the transmission. What they found was astonishing. The message was multi-layered. The first layer was mathematical. Prime numbers, fundamental constants, the Pythagorean theorem, universal truths that any technological civilization would recognize. The second layer was more complex. What appeared to be a star map, showing the position of our solar system relative to nearby stellar landmarks. But it was a third layer that left everyone speechless. Images, thousands of them, compressed into that brief transmission. Images of worlds, of cities, of beings, of them. The beings and the images were nothing like us. Radially symmetric bodies, multiple limbs, sensory organs we couldn't begin to understand. But they were clearly intelligent. Their cities sprawled across landscapes both alien and beautiful. Their technology was visible in the structures they built, the vehicles they created. But the most haunting images were the last ones. They showed those cities in ruins, those beings gone. Their world, a planet orbiting a red dwarf star somewhere in our galactic neighborhood, was dying or already dead. The final image was simple. Their probe, this very structure we were now observing, being launched from their world, not as an invasion force, not as a weapon, as a message in a bottle. A testament to a civilization that knew it was ending and wanted someone, somewhere, sometime, to know they had existed. The date stamp encoded in the transmission, when translated to our calendar system, suggested the probe had been launched approximately 85,000 years ago. They'd been dead for millennia before humans even left Africa. The question now facing humanity was simple and profound. What do we do? The probe was still operational, still sending out its distress signal every few hours, still waiting for a response it had been programmed to expect. Some argued we should respond, send our own message back, let them know, if any of them somehow survived, that their beacon had been found, that they were remembered. Others argued the opposite. We don't know why their civilization fell. We don't know what dangers they might have unleashed. Responding could mark us as targets. The debate raged for days. UN assemblies convened. World leaders consulted with scientists, ethicists, religious figures, and philosophers. And then Dr. Chen pointed out something everyone had overlooked. Look at Fragment B's new trajectory, she said, pulling up the orbital calculations. After the fragmentation, after all those course corrections, where is it heading? We all looked at the screen. Fragment B was entering an orbit that would bring it back around. In approximately 18 months, it would pass within $0.30 of Earth, closer than any interstellar object had ever come, close enough to send a probe, close enough to study, close enough for direct contact. It's not drifting, Dr. Chen said softly. It's coming to us. That brings us to today. December 3rd, 2025, the original date we thought we'd have answers. We have answers now, but they've only led to bigger questions. Prometheus, one remains in orbit around Fragment B, continuing to study the artifact. Plans are already underway for a manned mission to intercept it during its close approach next year. The other Fragment C, is also decelerating, but it's heading toward the outer solar system, toward Jupiter. Some speculate it might be targeting one of Jupiter's moons, perhaps Europa with its subsurface ocean, another destination where life might exist. The main body of 3 Atlas continues outward, back into the darkness between stars. Its mission complete. It was never the threat or the answer. It was just the delivery system. I've spent the last few days reading the preliminary reports, studying the images, trying to comprehend what we've discovered. We are not alone in the universe, but we might be alone in time. That civilization reached out across the vast gulf of space and time, hoping someone would find their message. And we did. But we're separated by tens of thousands of years, an unbridgeable gap that makes communication impossible. They're gone. We're here. And somewhere in that truth lies both the most profound loneliness and the most extraordinary hope humanity has ever known. Because if they could exist, then we're not unique. Intelligence, consciousness, civilization, these things can arise in the cosmos. We have proof now, but we also have proof that civilizations can fall. That even species capable of building interstellar probes can fail, can die, can disappear into the endless night. Their warning, their legacy, their gift to us. So here we are. Everything has changed and nothing has changed. The sun still rises. People still go to work. Life continues. But we know now. We know we're part of something bigger. We know we're not the first and probably won't be the last. Most importantly, we know that out there, somewhere, someone tried to reach us. Someone wanted us to know they existed. Someone hoped we'd be better, smarter, more careful than they were. Fragment B will arrive next year. We'll have the chance to study the probe up close, to learn everything we can from these ancient engineers. Maybe we'll learn how they fell. Maybe we'll learn how to avoid the same fate. Or maybe we'll just learn that the universe is full of voices calling out into the darkness, hoping someone will answer. And now, finally we can. The question is, what will we say? I don't know what happens next. Nobody does. But I do know this. We're living through the moment that future historians, if there are future historians, will mark as the beginning of everything. The day we stop being alone. December 3rd, 2025. Remember this date. Remember where you were when you learned the truth about 3 Atlas. And remember, they reached out to us across an ocean of space and time. Now it's our turn to decide what we do with that gift. Stay curious. Stay hopeful. And whatever you do, keep looking up. Because the universe just got a lot more interesting.